I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. Carol and I had been together for 8 years, married for 5. We built a life that looked perfect from the outside. A nice house, good jobs, a couple of vacations a year. But lately, I'd noticed little things that didn't add up. She was more irritable, snapping at me over nothing, canceling plans last minute, and spending way more time on her phone. I figured it was just stress from work or maybe her period. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but deep down I felt something was off. One night I got home late after a meeting. I figured I'd surprise her with dinner. I walk into the house and it's eerily silent, no music, no TV. I call out but no answer. When I enter the bedroom, I see her sitting at her vanity, staring at her phone with a strange look I couldn't quite recognize. I walk over and see her typing something quickly, deleting it, then typing again. That's odd, but I shrug it off. Maybe she's just texting a friend. I start to clean up the kitchen and my eye catches her phone lying face down on the table. I've never been snoopy, but this time something compelled me to glance at her screen. I see a message from a number I don't recognize, something about meeting tonight, signal amplification, and a time that's just an hour away. My stomach drops. I open her chat app and see a string of messages with someone called Alex. It's not just casual talk, it's flirtatious, loaded with innuendos and talking about their project and testing the new equipment. Mind races. I've always trusted her, but this is something else. The words signal enhancement and remote observatory are code. I realize her and Alex aren't talking about work. They're meeting and it's more than just a professional thing. There's no doubt anymore. My wife, my partner, the woman I thought I knew, is cheating on me. I feel a cold rage mixed with heartbreak. How long has this been going on? Was I blind? Did I miss the signs? And worst of all, how do I confront her? I've never felt so betrayed. I don't sleep that night, replaying every moment, every sign I ignored. It's like a punch to the gut every time I think about her lies, her sneaky texts. I need to think, what's my move? Do I confront her or do I gather more proof? Either way, I know this isn't going to end well. The next day, I couldn't focus on anything. I kept looking at her, waiting for her to slip up to give herself away. But she played it cool as if nothing was wrong. She went about her day, acting bitchy, snapping at me over simple things like I was the one in the wrong. It was infuriating, honestly. I wanted to call her out right then, but I knew I had to be smart about this. I needed more evidence, something concrete to prove she was actually cheating. I couldn't just accuse her based on a gut feeling and some cryptic messages. That evening, I decided to follow her. I didn't want to make a scene in front of her or blow my cover, so I pretended to be casual. She said she was going to meet some friends, but I had a hunch. I took my car and followed her from a distance. She drove to this dingy little cafe that I'd never even heard of. I parked about 2 streets away and watched her walk in. I waited outside, pretending to be on my phone, trying to look nonchalant. Minutes felt like hours. Then she came out, laughing with a guy. I couldn't see his face, but from the way she was leaning into him, all giggly and touchy, I knew she was deep into whatever she was doing. I felt a knot in my stomach tight. At that moment, I realized I needed to get proof. I pulling out my phone, quickly snapping a few pictures of her leaving with him. I didn't want to be obvious, so I kept the camera low, just enough to capture what I needed. When I finally drove back home, my mind was racing. I felt a mixture of rage, sadness, and betrayal. I'd always thought we had a solid relationship, that she loved me, but now I knew the truth. She was cheating on me with someone I didn't even know, someone who was probably just as involved in her secret game. And Alex, that's who she was sneaking around with. I sat in my car outside my house for a long time, trying to process what I'd seen. I thought about confronting her then and there, but I knew I had to plan it carefully. I had enough to go on. The next step was clear. I'd confront her face to face, get her to admit everything, and decide what I was going to do with this information. I didn't want to be naive anymore. I was done being the fool. The betrayal cut deep, but I refused to be the one left broken. My mind was made up. I was going to get my answers. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling around the images, the texts, the fact that she lied so effortlessly about everything. I kept asking myself how long she'd been doing this, how many times she'd lied to my face, and whether I was just blind or stupid for not noticing sooner. I wasn't naive. I knew women like Carol, with her bitchy attitude and constant lies, could be manipulative, but I never thought she'd cheat. Not on me. Not after everything we had built. The next day, I decided I couldn't just sit on this information. I needed to confront her, get the truth straight from her mouth. I waited until she came home from work, trying to keep my composure. When she got in, I asked her casually how her day was. She shrugged, said fine, and immediately started bitching about work, about how people are so stupid, how she was tired of pretending to care. I played along, but inside I was boiling. I finally said, "Honey, I saw your messages last night, the ones with Alex." Her face immediately shut down. That bitchy attitude turned into a defensive mask. She leaned against the wall, crossed her arms, and tried to brush it off. "Oh, it's nothing, just work stuff, you know how he is, always joking around." She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "You're overreacting, there's nothing there, you're just being paranoid." I stared at her, feeling the blood pounding in my ears. "That's bullshit, I saw the messages, the ones talking about signal amplification and testing the new equipment. You and him, you're cheating, Carol, don't lie to me. I have proof." My voice was steady, but inside I was shaking with anger and disappointment. How could she lie so blatantly? She looked at me with that fake smirk, the one she uses when she knows she's caught but wants to play it cool. "Look, I don't know what you think you saw," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, "but you're imagining things. Alex is just a friend. We're working on a project together, that's all. You're being ridiculous." She stepped closer, her tone sharp. "If you don't trust me, that's your problem, but I'm telling you there's nothing going on, it's all in your head." I wanted to punch her. I wanted to scream, to shake her until she confessed, but I held back. Instead, I looked directly into her eyes and said, "The only thing in my head right now is how much I trusted you and how you've been lying to my face. I saw the messages. I saw the pictures. You're cheating on me, Carol. I don't know how long it's been going on, but I know enough." My voice cracked at the end, but I didn't care. I was done playing nice. She blinked fast, trying to act innocent or maybe trying to come up with some excuse. But the mask was slipping. I saw the flicker of guilt in her eyes just for a second. That was enough for me. I knew this wasn't going to be resolved with a simple apology. It was the beginning of something much uglier. I didn't want to scream anymore. I wanted to destroy the lies she was telling herself piece by piece until she had no choice but to face the truth or accept the consequences. After I laid everything out, proof, my feelings, my absolute disappointment, Carol's reaction was a whirlwind. She looked like she'd been caught in a trap, eyes darting, trying to come up with a lie, a justification, anything to escape this. But the truth was unavoidable now. She tried to brush it off with her usual bitchy attitude, but it was hollow. That fake snarky tone she defaulted to couldn't hide the fact that she knew she'd been caught red-handed. Her excuses came fast. She said it was just sex, that she was bored, that Alex was someone she'd met at a conference and started messing around with. But it was all just sex, no big deal. She claimed she never loved him, that it was just a stupid mistake, and that she didn't mean for it to go this far. She threw in the typical "I'm sorry," but it felt empty, rehearsed like she'd said it 100 times before. I could see through her bullshit. She lied so much I'd stopped believing anything she said. I was furious, but more than that, I felt a crushing sense of betrayal. I'd built my entire life with her, shared everything, dreams, hopes, even some of my deepest fears, and it was all just a facade for her secret life. My hands clenched into fists. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her, but I just stared, trying to process how she could be so callous, so indifferent to what she'd done. I told her that I wasn't sure if I could forgive her, that she'd broken something in me I didn't think could be fixed. She rolled her eyes, dismissing my feelings, calling me overly dramatic and paranoid, as if I was the crazy one. That only made me angrier. How dare she call me paranoid when I'd caught her red-handed? Her dismissiveness made it clear she didn't even care about the damage she'd caused. She was more interested in brushing it under the rug, in pretending it was nothing. I started to think about what I wanted to do next. Part of me wanted to walk away and never look back, to cut her out entirely. Another part, the one that still loved her, wanted to believe she could change, that she'd realize what she'd lost. But deep down, I knew that trust, that was gone. It had shattered into a million pieces, and I wasn't sure I could ever put it back together. The betrayal was too deep, the lies too many. The worst part, knowing that this wasn't just a one-time thing, it had been going on for months, maybe longer, behind my back. I asked her straight out, "Are you still cheating? Are you seeing him right now?" She hesitated for a second, then snapped back, "No, I'm done with him. I swear, it's over." But I didn't believe her, not completely. I felt sick. I felt helpless. And inside, I was already plotting my next move. I didn't want her to think she'd gotten away with it. This wasn't over. Not yet. In the days that followed, everything changed between us. The house was thick with tension, like the walls were closing in. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, and Carol's bitchy attitude only made it worse. She still acted like she was the victim, throwing tantrums, calling me crazy, trying to gaslight me into doubting what I saw and heard. She insisted she didn't see Alex anymore, that she was done, but I wasn't buying it. I knew better. Trust was gone, and I wasn't about to just forget what she'd done. I started to gather more evidence, hidden cameras, checking her phone whenever I could, digging through her emails. I wanted to catch her in a lie, to have undeniable proof if she tried to deny everything again. Meanwhile, she kept up her act, bitchy, defiant, insistent that she was done with all that. But I could see the flicker of guilt behind her eyes every time she thought I wasn't looking. That small moment of hesitation told me she was lying, again and again. One night, I decided I had enough. I couldn't go on pretending everything was okay. I sat her down and told her I'd had enough of her bullshit. I said, "You can keep lying all you want, but I know the truth. I know. About Alex, the messages, the meetings. I saw the pictures. And I'm not going to stay in a marriage where I'm played for a fool." Her face turned red, and she snapped back with more lies and accusations, trying to turn it around on me, calling me insecure, jealous, controlling. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. That's when I realized I had to make a decision. I told her I was done playing her game, that she needed to decide, either tell me the full truth and stop lying or face the consequences. She looked furious, like I was the one who betrayed her, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep living in her web of lies. I told her I was going to see a lawyer, that I was considering divorce, and that I'd be documenting everything moving forward. She yelled, called me a bastard, a controlling asshole, whatever. I didn't care. I was finally taking control of my life. Honestly, that moment felt like a revelation. I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. No more secrets, no more lies. I was tired of feeling like I was walking on eggshells just to keep her happy. The betrayal had cut deep, but I was done being the victim. I knew I'd survive this, and maybe, just maybe, I'd find a way to rebuild after all the damage. I learned that trust, once broken, is incredibly hard to fix, but I also learned that I had the strength to walk away when enough was enough. The days after I made my decision were the hardest. I moved out of the house, not because I wanted to, but because I knew I couldn't stay under the same roof with her anymore. The house, once filled with memories of us laughing and planning our future, now felt cold and hollow. I kept thinking about everything I'd lost: trust, respect, my sense of stability. But I also felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time in months, I could breathe again without the weight of her lies pressing down on me. As I packed my things, I reflected on what I had learned from all this. I realized how fragile trust really is, how easy it is to believe in someone, and how painfully it can be shattered. I learned that sometimes a person's true nature comes out in moments of betrayal, and that the pain of being lied to cuts deeper than I ever thought possible. But I also learned that I am stronger than I thought. I survived discovering my wife was cheating on me, and I've come out the other side more aware of what I need from a partner and what I refuse to tolerate. Since then, I've been focusing on myself. I've started therapy to deal with the emotional fallout and to rebuild my confidence. I've also realized that I don't need to rush into anything new too quickly. I need time to heal and to understand what I want moving forward. The betrayal was a sharp lesson, but it also woke me up to the importance of honesty and respect in any relationship. I now know I deserve someone who's truthful with me, who won't lie or cheat behind my back. Looking back, I see how much I let her manipulate me into believing her lies. I see how I ignored the warning signs, how I was blinded by love and hope. But I also see my own strength, how I refused to stay silent, how I stood up for myself even when it was easier to stay quiet and accept her bullshit. That's what matters most. I want everyone reading this to know. Don't ignore the signs, don't let someone make a fool of you, and trust your instincts. If you're in a situation where someone is cheating or lying, you're not overreacting. You're not crazy. Your feelings are valid and you deserve honesty. I don't regret what I went through because it taught me who I really am. I'm resilient. I'm capable of walking away from someone who doesn't respect me, and I'm finally ready to start fresh. Maybe someday I'll find someone who truly values me, who respects the vows we take, and who won't hide behind lies. But for now, I know I'm better off without her. And that's enough.